Hey guys, today we're going to compare gas versus electric and which one I would buy. We're going to start off with pricing. This is a 2025 Chevrolet Equinox Active, giving you all of the off-road suspension and off-road tires with a beautiful cloth with a black and beige interior. This one right now, as tested, at $46,000. Then when we look over here at this RS2 Equinox EV, this is an all-wheel drive, which that is an all-wheel drive as well. This is coming in at $67,000 before any incentives. Then that's where you get your biggest thing, why we always say lease this, buy this. So when you look at purchasing or leasing a gas Equinox, there are zero incentives other than the interest rate, which is a sponsored interest rate through GM at 4.99%. When you look at these, that's where you can start to get into these massive EV credits. Starting off right off the bat, you have a $5,000 government rebate, which you can use half of for $2,500 for a 2-year lease. And then for a 4-year lease, you get the full $5,000 credit. Also, for being a Costco or having a Costco member, you're going to get another $1,200 off, which is awesome for those $1 Costco hot dogs. Then you're still going to be significantly more, but in the overall experience, what is a 2-year lease on this versus a 2-year lease on this? When you look at it and you factor in gas and oil changes, they do come out to be very similar. The only major difference we've seen is the EVs are a little bit more on insurance due to the fact that when they do have accidents, they tend to have a higher rate of being written off. Now I want to touch on charging a little bit. All you have to do is touch that to get the charging port to open on the Equinox EV. You're going to see straight off the bat with moving nothing, that's your home charger. Then when you pull it out, that's where you get your upgraded charging if you're doing it at one of the large level 3 chargers, which I actually recommend staying away from. If you go to somewhere like an en route or any of the major ones off the highway, they tend to be quite expensive, and we've seen people almost spend the same cost as filling up their gas vehicle. Now I'm going to take both of these for a drive. I want you guys to watch my driving experience, see what I think, and then we'll come back and I'll let you know my final thoughts. Now that I'm inside the 2025 Chevrolet EV Equinox, I'm going to give you some of my first impressions overall with driving it. And then I'm going to test drive the gas version as well. And we're going to give you a final thoughts on it. Fuck, I didn't even like that. Now that we're in the Equinox EV, my first couple impressions are immediately you can tell this vehicle has tons of power, and it has power at any point, whether or not you're on the highway or on a city road like I am. Anytime you touch the pedal, it's going to give you juice straight away. I know a lot of my clients are hesitant with the EVs due to motion sickness as one big one, and or they just like the noise. They're used to having a big gas engine rumbling away as you drive, and they think without it you're going to get more road noise. I actually disagree, and I don't think you really do get more road noise, but I think with how good these EVs are now, you have to test drive one if you're looking at a SUV, a car, or a pickup truck. I think the technology is well above right now where the gas cars are, and it's just about getting more early adopters into it. I always like to joke with my clients getting into an EV that the biggest part of the ownership is just getting over signing straight away. As soon as you can get through that first initial 2 or 3 weeks and you learn to adapt from a gas station life to a charging life, it is so easy. And I agree, it's not for everybody, but for the people it is for, it is way better than a gas vehicle. We have tons of clients, or I personally have tons of clients who maybe fill up once a week or once a month, my apologies, because they're only doing, 10,000 kilometers a year and they're barely going out, and they, never really leave the city. That is when an EV shines. We can put you in a 2-year lease where you're going to take advantage of some of those $5,000 credits and the other credits that I was telling you about before, where it gives you tons of advantages to get into it. But for some people, it doesn't make sense yet. And I completely agree with that. It's not always going to make sense. It's the same reason why four-wheel drive versus front-wheel drive, or full-size SUV versus a smaller SUV, or why you buy different engines in the truck. It's not going to be for everybody, but it is for a lot of people because you're going to get tons of features. Just like Super Cruise, this Equinox is equipped with Super Cruise. It's equipped with rear vision camera as well. You can't really beat the features that it comes in, especially with some of the price points that the Equinox starts at when you can lease one in the low 50s before you take your government incentives. Now we're going to hop into the Equinox Gas. So it's a active that I picked, being one of my favorite models we have. And I'll let you know my comparison of that, and then we'll give you my final thoughts at the end. Okay, now that we're inside the active Equinox here, which is the 1.5 liter gas engine, it's driving almost identical. I would say the Equinox EV had a little bit more of a sporty feel. That could be part of the battery's design, that they are so stiff that it makes up for more than what this one has. Drive-wise, though, comfort, very similar. Tech-wise, we're working with the same, but the EVs come in at just such a higher price point before any incentives on them or leasing rates on them. So it's tough to compare everything because there is a large difference in technology. But I think for the average person, these are the two vehicles you would be looking at, whether or not you're a family or, young adults looking to get into their first car. You're most likely going to be looking at an SUV, and the Equinox is a great SUV to look at. This is an all-wheel drive model, and as I mentioned before, the Active gives you all of the off-road tires and a little bit more off-road style suspension. I think, personally, for me, I might lead this way, but I'm someone who doesn't fit all of my criteria that I would have to put someone into a EV vehicle. Starting off with, I don't have a house or rent a house. I'm in an apartment with outside parking, and my building doesn't quite have EV charging yet. But if I could charge at work, or I had charging at home, that is definitely what I would be doing. I would lead more towards the EV because with the lease you can get in and out of it so easily. But I think for my overall driving experience and what I would need it for, the gas Equinox just fits me significantly better and lets me continue my lifestyle a little bit easier. I think it would be harder for me to switch directly into EV, but everybody is different, and that's why you have to come in and try both, because you may fall in love with all of the technology and how far battery electric vehicles have come, because they are worlds above where they were only 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, guys, now that I'm back from doing that quick test drive, I know which one I'm going to pick. I'm curious if you guys know yet, and I want to touch on depreciation, which is a big part of the ownership experience. So starting off the back with the Equinox EV, I think a lot of people know about the depreciation that hits electric vehicles, and it's something that you can't really get away from. It's like the elephant in the room that you're never going to get away from, or the fact that I'm still waiting to grow to 6 feet, just hasn't happened yet. So the EVs take such a large depreciation because it's an unknown factor. People don't know, what's this battery going to do in 5 or 6 years, in 10 years, versus people can go with this Equinox and say, okay, you know what? This is going to be a $20,000 Equinox in 4 years due to 100,000 kilometers on it. But with this one, they don't know if the range is going to be cut in half or what exactly is going to happen, which I actually completely agree with. The only thing that I like is GM really pushes their EVs, and that's why it has a 8-year 160 powertrain warranty, which is your full battery warranty, which is something great that GM does. Unfortunately, I am going to stay with the old style, and I would take this Equinox. The active model is the way I would want it. Come take a look at my favorite angle, where you see these off-road style tires. You get the nice new front end with these large headlights coming down with the fog lights. For me, as 24-year-old living in an apartment, it makes more sense because I don't have a home charger at home, and that's the biggest thing that makes sense for EVs. Let me know which one you guys would pick. I'd take this one, maybe in white, but black is what all I got today. Thanks, guys.